Welcome everybody. This is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform weekly community call happening every single Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. And this is the one with the Microsoft speakers. And what we mean with that one is that you will actually hear from Microsoft, from the people who actually built the sample, built the solution, built the feature, or implemented the thing as an engineer, or created the first learning exercises about the thing as a cloud advocate. So we're really trying to get the Microsoft people to come here and talk about what they're building, what have been done. And then we have other calls where we talk about the other, let's say, the real world learnings. How did you actually use the technologies which we were providing as a Microsoft employees? All of them, all of those different things definitely has value. So we want to have multiple calls, multiple things to talk about different aspects on building stuff for Power Platform and Microsoft 365. Now, today we'll go to typical set of slides. There's some recap on things. So I'm going to actually spend a bit more time on a few slides because last time we got some feedback related on certain things. That's fine. We're going to go through some of the news. That's okay. We're going to do a group photo, super cool thing as well. I will try to change the scene this time so we're not always on the typical boring white background on that one. Let's see how it goes this time. It should be good. It's been pretty reliable in the nowadays. And then we have Anshul talking about AI 0 to 1, building a compliance checker in Copilot as a Teams AI-based messaging extension using Azure Open AI. So that's the #1 demo. And then the second demo will be presented by me. At that point, I will actually show my face and talking about it within the video because I'll be sitting on the front of the computer. But that will be about the Viva connection and bring your own quick view. And that means that you are able to, you're no longer restricted with the adaptive card layouts within the Viva connection in the future. And that's a really cool capability. We'll talk a bit about the future of the card framework and card platform because there's additional shapes and things happening as well in the future over there. So more and more announcements on that side as well. Now, quick recap on all of the different assets which we have available. We have YouTube channel, we have stuff in LinkedIn, we have stuff in GitHub, we have sample galleries. Luckily, there's only one URL to remember from where you can find all of these different assets, which is the AKMS community home. That is the location where we have links to our blogs, links to our assets, links to the samples, links to the tooling, and all of that stuff as well, making it super easy for you to take advantage of these things. Now, the YouTube channel, maybe we've been showing this already 6 months. We can probably drop the slide already, but we used to call our YouTube channel as Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Community YouTube channel. It was renamed to be a bit more inclusive as Microsoft Community Learning Channel. And you can see already today a lot of more content there. We're publishing at least one YouTube video every single day. Not a channel in a day. YouTube video in a day. That makes much more sense in English. But AKMS Community YouTube is the location on that one. A lot of great videos already available, including the community call recordings. So those will be released always in the YouTube channel within 24 hours. Now, you are in a community call. You are in this first community call with the Microsoft speakers. That's the 8 a.m. Tuesday, every single Tuesday happening. On top of that, we have a monthly series for Power Platform with community presenters, Office admin monthly with product group presenters, meaning Microsoft presenters. And then we have our 7 a.m. Thursday series, which is either the Microsoft 365 Power Platform community call or the Viva Connection SharePoint Framework community call with community demos. So really the community members showcasing what they built in Microsoft 365 for Power Platform or for Viva Connection or SharePoint Framework. And whatever you build, people will actually want to see that and learn from your learnings as well. So that's really the key value what we want to provide with this course. You can find all of the downloads at AKMS Community Calls, and you can always see the agendas at AKMS Community Meetup, a great location to sign up as well. So you get an email to your inbox explaining what is the agenda. Good. Now, related on those community calls, especially community presenter section, we do welcome you to do those demos, and that's a super welcome thing because we want also for Microsoft employees to see what did you use the Microsoft tools and products for. This doesn't have to be rocket science. The most demand we have for videos and demos are around getting started on X and Y and Z, getting started on using Power Apps. That could be actually a real demo thing. So people tend to overthink that I cannot do community call demos unless it's 400 levels, rocket science, whatever. That's not the case. People actually want to see basic stuff, getting started. And of course, every now and then you can do a deep dive on certain specific topics. So don't feel overwhelmed if you are not in the rocket science level with your sample, what you built, or your learnings, you can sign up in here in a much more simplified way, or with a much more simplified demo. Also, the demo doesn't have to be open source, doesn't have to be necessarily available in a GitHub. It can be a learning as long as it's not a product demo. So we don't welcome companies to actually promote and market within this course, because that would actually break the community rules. Now, getting started on Microsoft Cloud, we have our developer program. I will talk about that one in the following slide. Still no news on that one, but let's talk about what it actually means in practice in the following slide. And then we have a lot of learnings available in the Microsoft Learn modules. Now, the developer program, as mentioned, has been on a pause for quite a long time now. Still no news on updates on when we would potentially get a free developer programs and developer tenants back. Now, just to recap, what happened with this program is that unfortunately, we were providing everybody a free community tenants, a Microsoft 365 tenant for developer usage, but then the bad apples came and they started using those tenants in a wrong way. And since we didn't explicitly know who they were, it got the situation in a bit complicated way. The only way we can identify who these people are is that there has to be some sort of a small payment payment model and payment structure behind of those dev tenants as well. That will mean that in the future, when and if this will come up, they might have a small cost. They might be still free if we can identify the persons, but I don't have exact details on that one. Now, if you are in high need of having a tenant and you need to do some development, we can get you unblocked with $72 in a year, which isn't a massive amount of content money. It is a cost, and it feels bad to say this, that you will have to pay something to be able to start development within Microsoft 365, but also this tenant will be yours. It's not a developer tenant which will automatically renew or not renew. If you pay, that tenant will be you as long as you keep on paying. So there's a great options and value on that as well. It is not an optimal situation that you need to pay for it. But again, it's an alternative way for now until we get the free tenant or a minimal cost tenants figured out within a Microsoft. And again, we don't want to ask money from you. That's not the intention. The intention here is just that we need to make sure that as we provide these tenants, they are securely provided for you and people cannot use them in the right way. Unfortunately, that happened, and we needed to then pause the program. Good. Yes, moving on things. I'll follow up on some of the questions afterwards. So we do have a few different Power Platform, Microsoft 365 Power Platform shows. We have the Mondays at Microsoft. We have the PMP Weekly. We have also Microsoft 365 Developer Podcast. Some of these are happening weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, and so on. More news on all of that pretty soon. We also have our sample galleries, which are a great way of finding the relevant sample for you as a reference point. So the idea here is that rather than starting from scratch, you can go to the sample gallery where we have more than 2,000 samples already available, including, by the way, really cool set of AI samples, which were just put in. We're going to talk about our demo today, actually, in the first demo. And those are available from this centralized location, and then you can find them, have a look on them. Maybe you'll download them, modify them, and deploy them to use within your tenant. That's really the idea of these things. You can easily access samples from Microsoft and also from community from a one centralized location. Now, if you're not super familiar with GitHub or super familiar of getting started with these samples, we do got you covered as well with our Sharing is Caring initiative. And David, directly from LA, is going to explain what on earth is this all about.
What on earth is this all about? Yes, absolutely. And in fact, you know what? We're inclusive. You know, if you're in space, we'll help you too, right? So no problem. What is this sharing is caring thing, everybody? Well, as Vesa mentioned, we have a plethora of samples. Yes, a plethora of samples. And you may want to know how to use them. You may want to know how to contribute to them. You may want to know how to modify them. But they live in this thing called the GitHub. What is this hub of Gits, right? Well, it is going to be identified for you in these sessions. They are live, they are free, they are hands-on, they are safe space, so much goodness. That means that we will work together in a live Teams call with GitHub, making an actual contribution. It's not recorded, so you can ask any and all questions without the worry of feeling like it's going to get recorded. And we're going to collaborate. You're going to meet other members of the community. It's going to be awesome. So we got one coming up September 30th. I think that's about a week or two after the Power Platform Conference. And there's plenty of opportunity for everyone to still join. ak.ms/sharing is caring. It's a safe opportunity for you to start contributing. And we would love to have you there. Now, once you do contribute, we absolutely want to recognize you, and this has been ever so popular lately. We've been seeing lots of cool new badges, such as the Prompt Pro badge. And guess what month we're in? You may be thinking September. Nope, Promptember. So you can absolutely go contribute. If you click a couple more times there on the slide, there we go.
My bad.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. So yes, we've got those awesome new badges coming up. Prompt Pro available all year long. Promptember only available in September, but we've still got Promptober coming up. So you want to collect all three. You want the hat trick. Woo! The crowd goes wild. You want to get them all. It sounds just like the guy in Spaceballs. So all you got to do, ak.ms/community/recognition, go beep, boop, bop, get signed up, and we will track your your contributions. And we're getting ready to start recognizing them in a fun new way coming up in future calls. So be on the lookout for that. That's it. Back to you in the Finland studios.
Excellent. Thank you, LA. And I have to call out the Promptember and Promptober. Both batches are free because all of the batches are free and it doesn't cost you anything. And we will take care of the cost for you, which is great. And you're able to showcase then your commitment on an AI and Copilot and all of this goodness for your leadership and managers and the rest of the community as well. That's really the key point of these batches. Now, quick recap on events. TechCon 365, we already had a Seattle, DC. Dallas is coming in November 11th to 15th. Really, really great conference, in-person conference in the US side of us. Dallas, US. I don't think we have a Dallas in Europe. Anyway, and then we have the Power Platform Community Conference coming up next week. So September 18th to 20th. I think you can still get there. So if you're like in the last minute finding out that, oh, there's a big conference in Las Vegas, maybe I should go. I think you can still do that. It will be a great conference. A lot of great keynote sessions and other sessions on that conference as well. Now, a bit later on the Europe side, we have the European SharePoint Conference, or I think it's a European Microsoft 365 Azure SharePoint Conference. It's a really big name. But anyway, if you go to the SharePointEurope.com, you will find more details on that one with the programs and keynotes and all of the presenters. A lot of great presenters there as well. And then later on in 2025, European Collaboration Summit, one of the premium sessions as well within Europe side, happening in Düsseldorf this time. 26th to 28th of May, a lot of familiar faces and presenters in there. That's going to be 3,000 attendees plus again on next year. On top of this, we have a lot of community events at communitydays.org. Some of these are remote, virtual, some of these are in person, some of them might have a small cost in them, but please have a look on that communitydays.org. You'll find all of the different locations all around the world where you can actually meet other people within a community. Now, quick recap on what has happened within the last week. Not that much news otherwise, except for the developer area. On the M365 development area, 6 different updates on that side, on Microsoft Graph, Office add-ins, VS Code stuff, and all of that. Other than that, pretty quiet week, actually. We are waiting for a flood of announcements happening next week related on the Copilot announcements, which are coming on Monday, and then the Power Platform Conference announcements, which are coming right after. So we can expect a lot of different news, definitely there. Good to know. Thank you, Fabian, on that one. Now, and then before we go to the actual demos of today, just also a quick recap. We do have a community-powered Copilot prompts, which is a relatively new initiative. From a one centralized location, you can actually have a look on, okay, what kind of things I can ask the Copilot to do. And there's a great set of prompts available to get familiar with Copilot and get it as part of your day-to-day work. Prompt of the week this week is from Nelly DeAndrea, which is actually really complicated prompt. But basic idea here is that you're preparing for a demo or a presentation, and you have to have some notes related on that demo. You can actually ask the Copilot to time the demos, time the notes, time to the sequencing within your demo. And the blue string on the background is the actual prompt. And then the black ones are what we can get out of the Copilot. Looks pretty messy, but it is actually providing a lot of other valuable things. If you have a look on AKMS PnP prompt library, you will find this prompt and a lot of other prompts there as well to demonstrate the power of the Microsoft Copilot. Really, really cool stuff. Now, before we go to the actual demos, let's do a quick group photo, which I completely forgot about actually aligning into. So let's flip to kid mode. Let me start to Camtasia. Always comes as almost like a surprise. Oh, we're doing a picture. Oh, we are doing a picture. I wasn't considering that. So let me actually do it here. We are just flipping the mode. Excellent. We are in a good view mode. I will wanna change. Where do we have to change the? Oh, we don't have a change to view. Fine. We're gonna have a white background. It's okay. It's okay. That looks okay, and it's picture perfect. We have 60 feet in the fixed. What am I saying? English is so hard. We have 60 feet in the room. It's Finglish. Seats in the room. So we have 50 seats in the room. A few more seats left. Let me actually put my camera on as well, and then we will do. Do I get there? Do I get there? Do I get there? Yes, on the front row. Got it. So let me put the recording on and let's do some hand waving, everybody. Thank you for joining. Really cool to have you on a call. And we'll grab a GIF animation out of this and share it in social media. Thanks, everybody. A lot of familiar faces and new faces as well. That's always a great thing. Thanks, everybody, for joining. Really, really cool. Excellent, excellent. So that was working really well today. That's a really, really cool thing. Now, then we'll actually go to the demos of the day. So as mentioned, let's not actually go there. Let's go to the demos. So Anshul is going to start with the AI 0 to 1, building a compliance checker in Copilot, and a long title. And then after Anshul, I will do the demo related on Viva connection, HTML-powered quick views. But Anshul, I think you are good to go. I can see you in the middle of the screen already.
Thanks.
Let me flip this mode.
Great. So I'll keep my camera on for a little while. The network's a little dodgy, but yeah, so nice to be here. It's my first time on these community calls. I'm so excited. I wish I joined last week. I would have used Nello's prompt. That would have come in handy for sure. So Visa's been dropping me a lot of how to be a good presenters. And yeah, I hope we make him proud. So I'll start sharing my screen for the demo of the day. So as Visa said, we're actually kickstarting a series that I'd like to call AI 0 to 1. And just like Visa said earlier as well, I think we got to know that all sorts of demos are welcome on this call, including 0 to 1. So here we are. So we have a series of 6 different sessions actually lined up. This is the first of those 6 sessions. And what we've done is we've actually built certain AI pro code samples. We talk about what the samples are and a little bit more later on along with the demo. But that's the series that we're sticking with, the AI 0 to 1 series. The first one in them is actually is a sample that we like to call building a compliance checker. It works in Copilot out of the box because it is a Teams messaging extension and it uses Azure Open AI. So it's a long title, but it's trying to capture everything that the sample does. And I hope we can do some amount of justice to it. So I'll actually move on to just give you an introduction and share some context about what these samples are, why we build these samples, etc. So we've actually built 6 pro code samples that cover some repeat scenarios that we thought would help the community and would help developers across the world actually make that step from 0 to 1, get their hands dirty in Copilot. And these are really not designed to be full-fledged plug-and-play solutions, but essentially these are some things that you can take as a point to get started. You can take the outputs of these that Copilot gives you or plug them into any other line of business solution of your choice. But essentially, we've tried to cover a wide variety, like demonstrating retrieval augmented generation or RAG. It's a big and important part of how AI functions. So there is a demo for that coming up soon as well. Multi-parameter queries, we've tried to cover how to filter out actions in summarization and also how to use intent capture to actually call child bots if you have a parent bot, simply with the power of AI and identifying intent. So the idea for these samples is basically for you to get inspired as a community to innovate with some robust examples. Not all of them are Copilot, so some of them, but all of them are AI, right? And we actually identified a white space in pro code solution samples, and we tried to use this as a plug for those. These aren't really, like I said, plug and play solutions, but they're great ways to get started. They're great ways to look at some of our ready-made cookie cutter samples that we have, and then possibly just get started from there on. So that should hopefully give you a quick idea what these samples are. Like I said, we have 6 of these developed. The first one is the compliance checker. This is the sample for the day. Apart from this, we have an AI meeting assistant bot. And what this does is it actually does what the regular out-of-the-box Copilot does. It creates meeting notes, creates action items, but then it spits it out for you to actually go and input into another line of business solution of your choice. So maybe To-Do or Jira or Confluence or wherever you tag notes or summarize your meetings and knowledge transfers and everything. Then we have the retrieval augmented generation demonstrator. This is something that you can use as an API. Just plug in your prompt later on and just run it from a browser. It'll actually work. But the cool thing is it actually shows you how vector embeddings are actually created and stored in like a database of your choice, in this case, Azure Cosmos. Then we have a virtual assistant superbot. Like I said, this demonstrates the superbot parent bot, child bot concept. So if you have a superbot that recognizes intent, can it actually call subbots based on that intent? Finally, one of the big things that we actually realize is that people get confused or struggle how to do SSO with Copilot. So there's an expert finder bot that has SSO along, that actually demos SSO with Copilot. And lastly, the company communicator is back, but this time an AI-powered version of the company communicator. The author app is something that we've tried to AIify, and we've tried to use different calls and convert into a sample that hopefully you all can use and derive value from. So I think with that, I'll actually just quickly switch off my camera so the feed is better and I make good use of my limited bandwidth, and I'll move on. The sample for the day is the compliance checker. So what does the sample do? Well, it actually takes a proposal document that you might receive hundreds of when you actually put out a request for proposal, or if you actually put out a guideline document. So we've used the term guideline, which is the base document, which has got all of the terms that, let's say, your imaginary suppliers of an imaginary company called Northwind, for example, may want to submit proposals for. So there is a guideline document, and then there's lots of proposals that you're getting. You have to compare each proposal to see, does it actually comply with the guideline that I put out or not? And what this does is this uses Azure Open AI to do that comparison. We make 2 calls to Azure Open AI, and we'll walk you through both of those. What are the prompts that we've used there? And then what it does is it spits out a neat little adaptive card, which is what messaging extensions in Teams were, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. And the output is very neatly displayed within Copilot if you use it within Copilot. And that was the intent of this whole demo, right? So a little bit of history actually is required here about why we're talking about these messaging extension-based apps. So when Copilot came out, one of the easiest ways for us to extend Copilot was to actually take ready-made Teams messaging extension applications and make those readable or make those usable within Copilot. And this is exactly where that sample is. And what I really want to show you is that this is a box standard cookie cutter Teams messaging extension sample. I'd love to go into more detail of this, but I will shortly take you to GitHub. But sadly, we can't go into messaging extensions, but there is a resources link that you can go into later. But what I want to show you is that these messaging extensions also can ready-made work within Copilot. And that is really the basis of where extensibility within Copilot stems from, or AI within Copilot starts from. So if you have a messaging extension-based app, bring it into Teams. It will automatically be usable by Copilot with some minor tweaks. And we'll go into all of that. If you do use it within Copilot, of course, you will require a license. And then we're using a model that we deployed on Azure Open AI. And I've just put some industry applicability examples and how can you extend this further, right? So like I said, these are solution samples. The output is yours to play with. The output is yours to run with. So here's a quick video. I will actually I'll actually play this video twice. But what I want you to see here is how do we use it within Copilot, right? So I'm going to extend this to the point where I open Copilot. Then what I do is I actually toggle this on because it is an extension that I use within Copilot. And you should be able to do this for any messaging extension-based app that is compatible with Copilot. So I've told Copilot, hey, Copilot, using Compliance Checker, can you evaluate Acme's proposal for compliance? Now, notice that I actually didn't specify the name of the guideline document. That's because we've hard-coded it for simplicity's sake, and I'll walk you through that code as well. But Copilot goes away, does its magic, and it's saying, oh, you know what? Let me do that. Let me go and look at whether the Acme supplies proposal complies or not. And now what it's done is it's actually gone and compared all of the different points. Is Acme, does it have ethical sourcing? Does it meet my confidentiality requirements, my minimum order quantities, my audit and inspection rights, my quality control, etc.? And then it actually also produces the messaging extension adaptive card right below. And that's such a neat way of doing this, right? I love that you can actually do this ready-made. So it actually gives me a summary, and it says, hey, you know what? It's passed 4 out of the 7 compliances, the compliance checklist that you told me to check against. And here's the result. Here's the output of that, along with the adaptive card. That's beautiful. So what we'll do is we'll come back to this video. We'll see it in some more detail because I just wanted to show you, here's what we built. Now, here's the code that I want to walk you through. And then we can come back to this video. So with that, I will actually go and try to find the right screen, which is this one. And let me just present this. Yeah. So the links for all of this will be put into GitHub. I actually just created an ak.ms link because I looked at the meeting chat and I realized I don't have an ak.ms link, so I panicked and I went and I created one. But this is the sample that we're talking about today. And what I'll actually do with the sample is, we'll do a quick gloss over, more like a whistle-stop tour of the inner workings of these samples. And the first thing that we'll actually do is we will go into the app package and then the manifest, right? Because this is where all of the goodness is. This is a really standard manifest for every Teams app, but what I want to go into is the compose extensions piece. And within these compose extensions, in order to make sure that these your samples work with Copilot, what we've done is we've defined a query, which is a search query. This is one of the type of a messaging extensions. The other one's an action messaging extension. This one's a search messaging extension. And what we've done is we've actually defined this within the compose extensions piece. We've given it the context that it can be available within, and we've defined 2 parameters. The first parameter is the proposer document, and the second parameter is the policy guideline document. And that's just it. We've given it a quick description saying what are each of these, and the rest of it is literally a standard manifest. So with that out of the way, I think what we will do is we'll go into the source code. And our first stop is the AI client.js. Now, this is where things move slightly tangentially when it comes to these AI samples. But I will literally do my best to show you how this is absolutely super simple. And what we will do is the first function that I've actually defined in this file is a function that prepares my checklist. Now, there are 2 functions here. Both of these functions make individual calls to Azure Open AI. Now, as part of this, what I do is, I know what my guideline document looks like. That is something that I publish once. So I've cheated here a little bit. And what I've defined as a system prompt, and this is the prompt that I sent to Azure Open AI. I've told it, hey, pick out 7 primary checklist items because I know that there are 7 different parameters that I want to evaluate every proposal against, and always give examples, right? So you notice over here, I've actually given it 2 examples, and I've said, here's what a sample checklist item could constitute: a payment term, a quality standard, etc. And then I've gone and created that call to Azure OpenAI, and it'll come back with a nice little result for me. Now, the second part of the call that I make is the call where the compliance is actually checked. And these are the 2 parts where you can see intelligence is used. The second part of the second call that I make here is the call where I actually tell Azure OpenAI, hey, you are an expert in assessing and comparing contracts and contractual terms. You must now compare the proposal that I receive with the policy guideline, and then make a decision on whether each one of them meets or fails compliance. So that is the gist of this system prompt that I've given it. But you can see it's quite a long prompt, right? And it's actually something that we stumble upon after a lot of trial and error. And again, you can see that I've told it, smaller or larger need not always mean compliant, because a 45-day notice period may be better than a 30-day notice period, but in some cases that may not also mean that it is compliant. And I've also instructed it on how to give its output. So I've said for each item on the checklist, if the proposal complies, do this. If the proposal does not comply, do this. So it's a great example for you to actually reference and look at. And one last thing that I want to touch on here is, while we actually make this call to Azure OpenAI, what I wanted to show you was these 2 parameters. There's a parameter called temperature and top P, and this is really AI heavy. But a quick lowdown on what temperature and top P is. So temperature, the higher temperature is, the more randomness or liberty my AI response will have. And top P, again, is a measure of the variety of the words that my AI model is allowed to play with. So notice The range for these is 0 to 1. My temperature is low, but my top P is high. And why I did that combination is because I want logically consistent and predictable answers every single time. So you can play around with these when you make a call to Azure OpenAI. It's a fairly simple call to Azure OpenAI, but these two parameters I really, really strongly wanted to call out. So now that we're done with this, I will actually go to the last stop of our tour, and that is the search-apps.js, which is where messaging extensions within Teams are usually handled. So if you look at the description here, this is, again, very box standard. And what I've done here is I've actually, I'll walk through it sequentially. So the first part of my sample, what it does is it actually goes to Azure Blob Storage, which is where my documents for the sample are stored. You do not have to store them there. You can have any source that you want, SharePoint, OneDrive, any other database of your choice. But I decided to put them in Azure Blob Storage. Like I said, I cheated a little bit. I've hard-coded the source document, but I have actually had to specify the name of every single proposal document that I receive as an argument or as a parameter in my messaging extension. So the first part, what it does is it actually allows me to handle PDF, document, or TXT files. It reads all of the files in my document, all of the proposal documents, which I'm going to dump into Azure Blob Storage. I've written some code to actually handle or process those files. And after that, I've basically gone and written some code to actually go and create all my checklist items. And once those checklist items are created, there is we make multiple calls to actually process each of those checklist items. So in this case, I told Azure OpenAI to give me 7 different checklist items, but there is some code to actually go and handle or break each one of those 7 different items to check for compliance. And then lastly, after I have made the required calls, I will actually generate an adaptive card. And this is for the output that I get. You saw that neat little output that I got, where I could show every single result as being yes, no, in terms of compliant, non-compliant. Just to beautify that output a little bit is what I have done as part of my search-app.js. Yeah, I think that pretty much talks about what the sample is largely overall. Everything else is quite standard when it comes to the app itself. We've also included a demo manifest, and this demo manifest should be something that you can go download, sideload into Teams, and just start exploring or experimenting with right away. Okay. We've also tried to do a good enough job of specifying, a README that has all of the different details in it. I'll put a link to this in the chat window actually. But yes, I think overall. Overall, this is what we've tried to achieve with the sample. Strongly hope you find it useful. I will go back to my presentation and just play that video and show you the messaging extension experience also one last time before I hand it over to Vesa. I do not know how I'm doing with time. I so wish I had the prompt to prepare for community calls last week. But yeah, I'll quickly glance through this. So again, what I'm trying to do here as part of this video is, we are trying to upload this app package. Again, the demo manifest, you can use to upload it. And once it has been uploaded, I can actually add it as a messaging extension. So you click the plus button. I can click on get more apps. Because I've installed this app, I can go and add compliance checker. Now here, what I do is I actually have to specify the name of only the proposal document because my guideline is hard-coded. So once I specify the name of that document, the messaging extension goes away. It makes all of those calls. This is the single parameter that it can accept. And it actually gives me this neat little adaptive card. And this adaptive card is then something that I can use across teams, across channels, etc. Now, what I want to show you is how easy it is to actually use this within Copilot, right? This is the easiest way to extensibility, and that's why we're showing you this sample. Just toggle on compliance checker. It should be available if you've programmed your manifest the way that I showed you. And once that is available, I can just ask Copilot and say, I can provide it that same document's name and I can ask it to check for compliance. And yeah, just recapping what I did last time, it'll go and stream the responses and it'll say, is this compliant? Is this non-compliant? Why is it compliant? Why is it non-compliant? And these were all of the calls that we made to Azure OpenAI. The 2 calls that we made to Azure OpenAI do all of this goodness and all of this magic for us. Great. So I think with that, I hand over to you, Vesa. And any questions? Yeah, I think we can take a look at. So yeah, of course, there are many rules to extensibility. You can code them in C#, in Node.js, .NET, etc. But I believe all our samples are basically .NET samples. Most of our samples are actually .NET samples.
Excellent, really cool, Anshul. Really awesome stuff. Great demo and great demonstration on the value what we can provide here. So great work. And looking forward to other samples as well. These are super valuable for everybody in the course. Good. Then, if there's any questions, please let's use the chat. I will transition myself to the demonstration mode on my demo and put the camera even on, so you can actually see me in the camera. So I try to avoid making demos in this course by myself, but I can always do demos, so that's not the problem. That sounded super weird, but anyway, we're trying to get more people to do the demos, so that you now 2 calls in a row, it's been me doing one demo on Viva Connection. Anyway, so in this demo, we're going to talk about Viva Connection and really focused on bring your own quick view with HTML support capability. Bring your HTML capabilities on the Viva Connection. AC is with the SPFx. A lot of abbreviation, but what it means is that we're able to use SharePoint framework to extend the Microsoft Viva Connection, which is our employee experiences platform, which is, by the way, getting integrated with Copilot, Copilot Studio, and all of that stuff. There's beautiful stuff in the roadmap, getting more and more ready with the integrations across the different stacks and all of that. But in this time, we're going to talk about the 1.20 preview feature, which is going to be in the SharePoint Framework 1.20 around that HTML support. I will go to a bit more detail on what it means in practice in a second. Because I wanted to do a quick intro. What on earth is that Viva Connection? What does it actually provide? Where do we actually, why would you want to care? And how it's being positioned with the SharePoint intranets and all of that. So we, from Microsoft side, we kind of think this as an employee communication and community platform, so to say, as part of the Microsoft Viva employee experience platform. And that kind of consists from Viva Connection, Viva Amplify, Viva Engage, and SharePoint. And all of those different 4 pieces have their own responsibility and value within this pipe. And of course, on top of that, we have Microsoft Teams, because all of these functionalities are actually running within the Microsoft Teams. We have Copilot, because all of these functionalities actually talks with Copilot as well. And you can use Copilot within all of these functionalities as well, sooner or later. So there's a lot of kind of this overlapping between the functionalities, and it's not either or, it's always understanding what are these things actually doing all up. Now, in the case of Viva Connection, this is our communication channel. So really about the people-centered and branded employee experiences, and really thinking this from an individual user perspective. So you can imagine the intranet being for corporate communications primarily, for all the same messages for everybody within a company, and then employee, the Viva Connection is more the personally branded tooling, relevant task for me, whatever I want to get access from my personal perspective. So you can go to Viva Connection, and then you can see the relevant tools and apps for you. You can, it can be customized for your organization. You can do branding, all of that stuff. That's a pretty low level of branding, but nice blue background on the pictures. And then it's personalized for the individual. So we can target individual capabilities and functionalities across all of the different devices based on the user role, where they're based on what their responsibilities are. From a work perspective, we can actually surface really easily different functionalities for different capabilities. So that's really the primary objective of Viva Connection. And we're also using the Viva Connection as the way of getting access on the corporate news super easily, because you can imagine that you, especially in frontline worker scenarios, you are using your mobile, you don't get access, you don't necessarily sit in front of the desktop. Getting up to date on what's happening within the company might be difficult, but getting those notifications within your mobile that, hey, there's now a corporate news coming, please check out the latest on X and Y and Z, is really the key, one of the key scenarios for Viva Connection as well. Now, from a positioning perspective, something which you might have heard in the past, but good to recap as well. The SharePoint is really the pixel perfect storytelling for your company. And there's a lot of innovation on SharePoint side. And then you can surface that SharePoint, for example, in Microsoft Teams, of course. You can do Copilot inside of SharePoint. You can make it look like whatever you want from a branding perspective. But it's really about the entire company. So that's really the home side of the company. And then again, the Viva Connection is the personal. What is it for me? My personal view to the company, my payslips, my relevant task for me, my relevant tools, my relevant day-to-day things, what I'm expected to actually do, can be found easily directly within the connection, which can be personalized in a user perspective. Now, we can, of course, make the Viva Connection look like whatever we want. There's a lot of different options, extensibility options, branding options. All of the different devices are adapting on those branding as well. and depending on a industry where you are, you can imagine different kind of scenarios within the different devices, between the different layouts. So a lot of interesting opportunities in here for frontline workers, and why not for desktop workers as well. Now, from a technical implementation perspective and extensibility perspective, we kind of have three models on the cart implementation. And here we're going to talk about something new, which we're working on in the future, which I don't think we have publicly even mentioned. So, of course, we have the no-code options, linking Teams applications, Power Apps, all of that stuff directly within the Viva connection in that dashboard, which is actually quite a common scenario. People want to access the top 5 Power Apps easily from one centralized location. It's actually pretty cool. You can go to Microsoft Teams, just access them directly, easily from this centralized dashboard, and then getting access on company information within the same view as well, which is really, really cool. Now, we also have the low-code functionalities in here. There's a lot of investments in the low-code side. Of course, the low-code is not excluding pro-code, but again, it's a great option to do in-house development. So extensibility directly within the in-house, because that's typically how the low-code works. So you can do static adaptive cards, but static is not that nice. You can do advanced API support for static adaptive cards, so you can hit graph APIs, all of that stuff, or SharePoint APIs, which makes those cards to be dynamic. So you can actually make them react based on the information what we have in the company. Or in the future, you can actually do Power Cards support here as well. So you can actually tack on any Power Card which is created, you can actually surface those directly within any device within a Viva connection. And we're working also on a Copilot Studio support, which was already demoed in Build this spring. So you can actually publish your Copilot Studio UXs directly within a Viva connection as individual cards and quick views and all of that. And then we have the third option, which is Pro Developer option, where we're using SharePoint Framework. And this is really the option where you can actually package your code as a reusable asset, put it in store, or you can sell it to companies, you can sell it to other people, you can do DevOps, you can do test and QA and production environment separately and all of that. So that's a pro developer storytelling, a lot of opportunities and investments on that side as well. Now today we're going to focus on pro dev scenario, which is the HTML quick views, and that's actually enabling us to use not just adaptive cards, but also HTML or JavaScript or whatever you want directly within inside of the quick view. Quick view is the one which is being presented when you click or initiate the card view. And of course, this works in any device, any experience as well. So in iPad, iOS, Android, all of that in a right way. Now, it's kind of it's now that I'm actually seeing those words on the screen, because I wrote them earlier today, but I didn't think about it. So the extension name is adaptive card extension, but then we are using HTML with the adaptive card. Now, the card view, which is the smaller view on the background, which is in here, that's still adaptive card rendering. But then in our case, we're now able to take much more advanced scenarios into use in that quick view. You can, for example, imagine to reuse your React components directly within ACE as a quick view, so that you're able to use the same React components as a web part or as a card view, depending on where people are accessing the implementation. So a lot of, again, code reuse easily without any code changes required in the multiple different locations. A lot of interesting scenarios in here. Currently, this is in preview. Release candidate is actually probably going out later today, and then GA is happening pretty fast within upcoming weeks as well. So still in September. But to be able to understand what this is all about, let's do some Visual Studio coding. I haven't actually done practicing of this tutorial today, so let's see how this goes. But I'm pretty confident on myself, even though typically Finns are not that confident persons. Nothing wrong with Finns, but you know, I'm a Finn, and Finns has a certain culture of things how we do things. Anyway. If you're interested about the Finns and their culture, have a look on the Google. Now, what I have actually done already, and just to speed up the creation of the solution, is that I've used the Juvonen generator, and I basically, let me actually go in here, already scaffolded an existing SharePoint framework solution, and I chose it to be a adaptive card extension, and then I chose it to be a generic card template as well. So, and that scaffolding has completed. One thing, as we do have 15 minutes, I want to call out here, when you scaffold an SPFx solution, You do get a lot of warnings, all of that stuff, and you do get actually a few vulnerabilities. I cannot pronounce that term properly, and I do apologize on that. Now, you might be like, oh, 27 high issues. Now, these are not on runtime. These are only development time high issues. And what I mean with that one is that the packages which we're using for Yeoman Generator or the project to serve local host are similar packages that would be security issues if they would be used in production as a server-side node packages. In our case, we're not doing that. We're running a node server as an HTTP server within our local host as a development time thing. So the fact that there's a denial of a service regex challenge with one of the packages, potentially for my development side box, does not count because nobody can actually cause challenge to be relevant. Just to call that out because it always comes as a discussion, but we can talk about that one in a separate setup as well. So I scaffold the solution. I actually had it running already. Let's do a no browser, and we can actually say culp serve no browser means that I'm running that local node server and I'm serving that code, so I can easily do debugging in SharePoint Online. So let's come in here. Let's actually double check that everything is working properly. Let me do a refresh. We should be seeing a request coming up on the local host. There we go. Oh, and it actually does. Let's do that one more time. So we can actually see that the rendering is properly done. There we go. And now if I come here, we can say that I have the HTMLAs available there as a card, and then there's nothing there. It's just a default scaffolding from the Yeoman generator, so it's not yet doing anything as such. So we're going to modify that to be an HTML powered. So let's actually do that. So let me go here. Let me go then to the Visual Studio Code. And where is my right Visual Studio Code solution? There it is. So this is the SharePoint Framework solution. There's one default adaptive card extension already here. And right now, the quick view is actually adaptive card based. Adaptive card 1.5 doesn't really matter. But in our case, we kind of concluded that, well, adaptive card for this particular imaginary scenario is too limited. So I want to actually use HTML to render my quick view. So I need to do some modifications to make this happen. Now, we will do the modification primarily in a QuickView TS, which right now it's basically inherits the base adaptive card QuickView class, but we're going to actually inherit HTML QuickView as the baseline, and that changes the dynamics. That changes really on what do we actually need to override and how do we need to look on things to happen. So now let me actually. Let's see what it actually, yes, it's actually, that's the extra interface. So let's get rid of that one because that's no longer suitable. Then it's actually complaining something else. It's saying, hey, you are actually missing the render method from this class. I cannot find it, so you cannot compile the code, or you cannot transcompile the code in this case, because from TypeScript to JavaScript on the server side. So we need to actually override the render method. Now, I will actually copy the code because I'm lazy. Well, not because I'm lazy, but still. So let me actually copy the render here. It's just easier. There's a chance of an exceptions or errors happening if I write all of this by myself. So I'm going to just copy that one. If you are familiar with the SPFx development, you can actually already detect that this is actually looking like the out-of-the-box web part experience in HTML. And I just created that as an example scenario for validating this, the implementation. And we don't actually need to have the template because that's no longer valid. We are not looking into adaptive card templates in this case. What's on clock? 11 minutes. I can do this. That's all good. So now we can actually see that this is referring to styles, which is not available. So we're looking into having styles. And what we want to have is the CSS SAS style definitions, because SAS is actually providing us additional value. So let me actually create my SAS definition here, adding a file. In the same way as I can do with the web part styles and SAS, I can absolutely do this in here. I'm going to copy the styling, what I have, and put it in here. And most likely to actually get a red sprinkles. No, we don't actually get it yet. but I can already see that this is a object. If I would now try to compile or transcompile, the Webpack would actually explain that, hey, I cannot find this particular fellow. This will not work. And that's because the Office UI Fabric core is not by default available within my packages, within my developer packages. So how we actually tackle that is quite simply installing that to be available within my solution. So let me do that. Let's do npm install and just that one over there. And that will then add that particular package, which will take care of the SaaS transcompiling the CSS on runtime in here. Now, in my case, I did a mistake because that's actually stupid for me to do that, but that's fine. It's good to do this small mistakes potentially in here. Can you spot the mistake? I will call out the mistake. I forgot about actually explicitly telling that I don't want to have the GA version of the package. I want to have the beta version of the package. There's a few ways of actually now dealing with this situation, but most likely that should actually work. Let's do it. Let's test it out. That should be good. That should be good. So if this will not work, I do have my backup available because we already did the npm install. The packages are already in here, and cleaning up and all of that takes ages. But 1.19 should actually work with 120 beta with that particular package because there's no breaking changes. So we should be fine with that. I trust myself, so that should be okay. Never trust yourself in these things, but we'll see. Now let me go to quick view. Let me come in here. It's still complaining that the styles are missing, and that is missing because I'm missing the reference to the CSS class. So let me write here, import styles. That's the alias from, and it's actually giving me the right thing. And there we go. There is my quick view module CSS thing, and the naming is there. Now, you might be wondering, why is it actually having that red marker over there? That's because I have not yet compiled a runtime reference version of that CSS class. So it cannot actually do that until the first time you compile the SaaS definition. Now, I will do this and test this out. So now if I do call bundle, and I will know that this will fail, but that's by design. Thank you, Paul, for the comment. I will intentionally do a mistake. Am I actually do have a mistake here? There's the styles. Oh, that's actually before. Let's do some cleanup from here so it doesn't actually do errors for us on that. Now it should no longer do the styles issue because it's actually resolved in here, but we should get one more exception. And this is semi-intentional, so we can talk about the one small challenge which we have here. Now, if you are familiar with SPFx development, you might be familiar with this kind of an exception, which is something which is so incredibly painful. So if you're really into this stuff, with 1.19, we had a challenge. We upgraded our Webpack transcompiling engine. The Webpack 5, and then there was a mistake internally within our code. The object-to-object error is incredibly frustrating because this means that I have a required somewhere a reference on an asset which is not yet available within a solution. Now, the object-to-object is not super helpful as the message for the end user to resolve the thing. And we're looking into getting all of that fixed. I will follow up again on the ownership of that one pretty soon. But the challenge is this one in here. Let me actually zoom in. I actually have a reference to welcome light PNG as a required. And that reference is not available. So it will result in object-to-object error, which is incredibly frustrating that it's not that, let's say, useful from an exception message perspective. But we're working on fixing that one for sure. Assets. And then I need to have that example image. And let me actually drag and drop that example image into assets. And we should be fine. Let me do call bundle. There's the beautiful, beautiful image, which I had taken from the web part, out of the box web part rendering. I didn't save. Didn't I save? My left hand is doing Control S all the time automatically. So that's leftovers from back in the mid-90s, whenever Office clients were not super reliable and it didn't have automatic saving. So my left hand is doing Control S automatically, so I don't know when I'm saving or when I'm not saving. But now you can actually see that it's doing properly, and the transcompiling worked. We did a bundle, and that means that I can do carp surf, dash no browser, and we have 5 minutes. We're right on time as long as this works. If this doesn't work, I'm in a deep problems, but I think we're both fine. We should be fine. So we are again live reloading. We're serving from the local host. That's the node server, which is running locally within my dev box, which requires some of the dependencies and all of that. Again, none of those dependencies are getting shipped with this code when I package that to the production. So that's just for hosting the stuff in here. And now if I go to the workbench in my tenant, if I refresh, I think we still have one problem. If I now click Quick View, oh, it's already rendering. Cool. I didn't have to actually do any changes over there. I was thinking on, do I actually have a action on the Quick View, and was I supposed to update the action on a Quick View? But now we are basically rendering the HTML format directly as we have it in the Quick View as the render. Now, in this case, it is super simple HTML. It's almost like feels like a hack because we're just outputting HTML in the line of the code, and this looks horrible. But you could absolutely use React. You can use whatever framework what you want in JavaScript, and this will actually get rendered properly as well. So that's actually pretty simple way of getting started on using HTML-powered quick views. Also, just to call out, if I go, I think this will take me like 1 minute, so I still have plenty of time to close up the call on time. If I go to let's go to the Teams, and let's go to the Viva connection from here. Teams loading, dancing. Teams loading. And oh, yes, it's been a while since I've been here. Okay, let me go to the Viva connection. Let's close that one. It's all in dark mode. And then in the out-of-the-box cards, we do have the OneDrive or the files card. I can't remember which one we actually chose that we're exposing as a card in the Viva connection. I haven't been there for a while, but if I go actually in here, let's actually do this in a quicker way. We do have the file card. So now if I go, that's a different card. File card. Do we have a file card? OneDrive card apparently is the card. So this card actually is using the same implementation style. So whenever you click to view more files, it is actually using the HTML quick view. So out of the box, we are using the HTML quick views as well to render this thing. Not that that would be explicitly needed, that you could have actually done that with adaptive cards as well, but it gets complicated. But you can, that kind of proves that we're using this by ourselves as well. Cool. I guess that's it for the demo, pretty much on time. I will take a few more minutes or 30 seconds to summarize what's available. So again, this is in preview in 1.20 beta. 1.20 release candidate, I think, comes out today or later this week, and then GA later in September. We do have a tutorial. I saw some linking challenges with those. I will need to double check that in docs right after this call, but we do have an existing sample which is doing exactly what I was doing today and calling out the different samples. But that's it for that particular demo, focused on Viva connection and HTML quick views. And just to recap for today, thank you, Anshul, for the great demos on AI-powered Copilot things and the scenario. We will have a series of 6 demos, so 5 left from the Anshul and the team, and Satya is helping there as well. So really looking forward on those scenarios. And I was showing the Viva connection extensibility thing. Now we're looking into surfacing these cards in multiple other locations as well. So there's going to be a lot of interesting scenarios on that in the future. Next week, we will have a really busy week. We have 3 demos, so we need to stick in the 15-minute sequences, and I will try to do the intro as fast as possible. But we have Johan talking about build your own serverless AI chat with RAG using LangChain, JS, TypeScript, and Azure. A lot of buzzwords, but if you're into the AI stuff, you know what that is. If you're not into that, you want to know what those terms actually are. And then Anshul is going to talk about, or Satya is going to talk about continuing the series. And then we have Daniel Laskovich coming also on talking about building reusable AI prompts in Copilot Studio to increase productivity. Really, really cool setup on next Tuesday. And in the meanwhile, if you have any questions or you're looking into where other people in the community are, LinkedIn, great location, Discord, if you're into the Discord, great location as well. There's already 2,200 members there. It's not a super active, but it's semi-active. I can see a lot of people helping each other in the Discord as well. We also are always looking for feedback. So what do you think about the calls? Did the story go well? What would you would like to see more? What works, what doesn't work, and all of that stuff. Always super valuable. We use this feedback to justify these calls also within the future. So we do value your contributions and submissions. This only takes 1 minute or 2 minutes to fill in, but it actually has a lot of value internally in Microsoft because we use that for our internal messaging. But that's it for this one. The recording will be available in the YouTube channel within 24 hours. You cannot access the recording directly from chat. If you can see a link on that one, YouTube channel under 24 hours, it will be there. Follow us on Twitter or in LinkedIn for getting notified whenever the recording will be available. And the next call on this series is in September 17th. A few other calls this week, especially on Thursdays, 7 a.m. Pacific series, still ongoing. But that's it. 1 minute over time. Pretty much on time. That's not too bad. So thank you everybody for joining today. Thank you for the great Together About picture, and thank you for being part of the community. Keep the feedback coming, and we'll be back within this show next Tuesday. Thanks everybody. Cheers. Bye-bye.